Welcome to 5 Stripe Weekly, everyone. This week we talk about how Ezequiel Barco finally has that first goal. Lil Bodie has set sail for sure now. I'm excited to see how many he gets. Also, he might be Nostradamus. Got the goal scorer right, got the score right. I'm terrible at it. He might need to buy a lottery ticket. All that and more, coming up.
Welcome to the show, 5 Stripe fam. I'm AJ, this is Tanner McLeod. Before we get into it, become a member of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button. So guys, let's talk about that 2-1 road win against Chicago Fire in Chi-Town. And man, they pretty much changed their entire lineup and how they set up and their system to play us. And they played us pretty well up until when we scored, and you know, it opened up the game completely. So it was a great showing on the road, some great goals, and it showed that we have that grit again. You know, showing also, you know, our road form is completely a 180 from last year.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it wasn't the best performance I've seen from them, and really on this 3-match road winning streak they've got, they haven't played exceptionally well. I feel like a lot of the time they've played themselves into unnecessary situations where they put themselves in danger by slowly playing the ball out of the back or not picking the right pass or you know, resetting it and then not having a solid touch here or there. And that can be risky at times. And teams can get on you from that. I mean, kind of what happened with the first half when Schweinsteiger set up, I forget the exact guy it was, and Escobar pulls off that nice little Cruyff turn on the back post, and it's like we let those guys run into space and run at our center backs, and that's not the key to victory. However, both goals that Leandro scored were very, very nice goals. There could have been another one in the first 5 minutes of the game. It's not necessarily how well you play on the road sometimes, it's just that you get results.
Exactly.
And right now, Atlanta United are getting results, and that's how you win points, that's how you win cups and supporter shields, you know, and hopefully how you win MLS Cup, by playing solid on the road and getting those results, even if you don't look your best, and then when you go home and you play at home, you absolutely batter teams. And right now, that's what's happening with Atlanta United. It's
true. Yeah, exactly. You know, it's a type of win, though, that makes a good statement. I think that, you know, essentially it's so tough to win on the road that, you know, they have to bring a completely new system to play us, which actually it worked out pretty well. I mean, what they did was they pretty much ran at our 3 at the back, you know, try to isolate them. They had probably essentially 1 man for each defender. And it kind of worked, and the MLSsoccer.com people even noted that, you know, it might be a good way to beat Atlanta, but, you know, at the end of the day, they didn't beat us, and, you know, Tata figured out a way to adjust and, you know, get the W. So.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is that it wasn't the best performance, and maybe you can say, oh, well, that's the way to beat them, but I mean, heck, you know, Minnesota played up man almost like the entire second half of the match, or for 60 minutes, and they still couldn't get a goal in. So it's like, you know, you can kind of make those generalizations, and yeah, I think it's a good strategy, but also it leaves them open at the back, and against teams like Atlanta United, who were very, very clinical recently in front of goal, when they get their opportunities, they are taking them. You know, maybe they're missing some, but on the whole, they're scoring, you know, multiple goals a game.
Right.
And especially on the road, when you can be clinical like that, you can pick up points, and Chicago weren't clinical. They had a really nice goal off a very poor clearance from Garza, but it was a good goal. But other than that, they didn't finish their chances, and that's got a lot to do with the defense, and that's got a lot to do with Tata adjusting tactically within the game.
Exactly.
And I mean, it threw our whole preview into you know, out of whack, because it's just like,
because Schweinsteiger,
you know, was playing a sweeper, and then they spring that tactical surprise.
Right. He's playing the 10, more so, I guess.
He actually played well, I thought. He really, you know, he's still
does,
really classy on the ball.
Yeah.
So,
and he almost had they almost scored the first goal of the game with just really inches away from hitting the top left corner. It was a good hit. I mean, I think Guzan might have had it covered, but it was close.
It was still a really good hit. And I mean, I think the thing that's really positive is it's another 3 road points against a team that had been playing well. They drew Toronto. They beat a Red Bull team that absolutely steamrolled NYCFC. So they haven't been playing well, you know, and so it's another solid 3 road points. They have a big match this weekend against the top of the West team in Kansas City. And so then they turn right around and play Orlando. So, you know, he was able to, it looks like, rest McCann. Yeah. Joseph got off early. I know he was mad. Some people were upset about that, but it's like, I think Tata's learning from last season that he needs to rotate his squad sometimes.
Exactly.
And it worked out. You bring on Kratz, solidify the midfield, keep the ball a bit more. Then you bring on Tito, who's going to run at a tired defense. It worked out. And now Joseph will be rested more for this big match on Wednesday, that if you win, you go 5 points clear at the top, I believe, for the Supporters' Shield. And that's big this early in the season.
Oh, yeah.
And then,
especially with the game in hand that we have. And so that's, you know, especially Joseph's form at home, yeah, that's what you want. You want him set up to be rested and ready and raring to go, and also angry to show that, yeah, no, you shouldn't sub me off. So, but, you know, speaking of goals, let's get into the goals. You know, Ezequiel Barco, he's got his first MLS goal. We couldn't be happier for the kid because he showed his qualities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and then if you look at the goal, Miggy wins the ball back 40 yards from goal. And then he just absolutely drives at Chicago's defense. And you can see how terrified players in MLS are of Miggy. I mean, almost 3 of them all just converge on him because they're like, we've got to make the stop. The guy completely lets Barco run free. Perfect little slide rule ball from Miggy. I mean, right into his pass. It was perfect. Absolutely subliminal. And then you have Barco, who I don't think many people may have noticed immediately, that was his weak foot. That was his left foot. He has the calmness, the composure to see the keeper, pick out the spot he cannot go to his up, to his left, into the roof of the net. Classy finish. I mean, that was that's beautiful football right there.
Yeah, it's really more to come from the kid. I think you know, it shows his qualities there, but it's also, yeah, on top of, you know, the composure. I mean, the kid is a teenager.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he's able to, you know, to finish this coolly, I mean, I think really shows what kind of player we have, and you know, essentially what we're really in for, you know, hopefully years of this player.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think he needed a few games to kind of settle in, and
new country,
new league, new teammates. And preseason wasn't very good, but now he's been playing at, you know, at the level that the league's been played at. He's getting those minutes with the guys, and you can see the combinations, especially between him and Almiron. I'm really seeing a lot of those 1-2 touch combinations, and that's really exciting to see. And I mean, then, you know, to move on to the second goal, that's just incredible movement by another new signing from this season in Darlington Nagbes. The give and go is perfect, the run's perfect, Chicago switches off, and then he is absolutely unselfish with the ball. A little just outside of the boot, lay off to Joseph, gets his goal. Shocker, Joseph scores on the road, but his road form's terrible. I mean, yes, it was a sweaty goal, but still, it's a goal. I mean, he's scored in his last 2 road games.
Right. No, and you know, he made a good run. He also stayed onside. I think that's, you know, key in that play.
But also just, I mean, that's how you endear yourself to your teammates, when you just give them an easy goal like that. Because Nagbes still doesn't have his first goal for the team, so he could have easily.
It's not about that.
He could have easily taken that shot, but he goes, nope, simple touch, 2-0.
Joseph the striker needs his goals.
Game done, and he knows that. I think Darlington knows that. That shows just his leadership, his character, and I was incredibly excited about him at the beginning of the season. When we made this video, we talked about him signing. I was really excited. I knew how good of a player he was. And right now, I think the last few games in particular, same thing with Barco. You're finally seeing him, you know, tick with his teammates. He's figuring out how he moves, and that midfield is becoming, in my opinion, probably the strongest in MLS, because there's so much, you know, dynamic ability in that midfield to just make things happen. And
you also can't shake off our players off the ball. Like, you just, like, they are so stout with the ball. But it's also another great stat is that he was 100% in the final third from this game. Like, Nagbes, he was just killer. And
I mean, if you can have 100% completion of any ball anywhere, no less the final third of the pitch, that's incredible class from a player. I mean, that's exactly what they needed, is a player that can break teams down. And he's shown that he can absolutely do that. Exactly.
But let's go back to the first goal and the commentary that
Gonzalo Perez.
Yeah, wow. So the Chicago announcer called that Barco goal as Gonzalo Perez.
Atlanta United off the bar and in. Gonzalo Perez.
He struggled with the Perez part.
Yeah.
It was bad. Not a good look.
Bad.
It was, I get that maybe you're not used to watching this team, but maybe when the record signing for the league is playing against you, you should know who he is. Also, he's like a foot shorter than LGP.
And it's also, Gonzalo Perez typically doesn't end up in the final third of the
He has been making some runs in there. I will give him that. But that's not exactly a finish you'd see from a center back.
Yeah, and you can also see the number 8. Granted, you would hope they would have like a roster with the numbers. They can see it, they can call it, they can look down really quick, something.
It's not just Yeah,
but,
maybe that's why he's calling MLS for Chicago.
Yeah, maybe, who knows? But but also with the Barco goal, you can see the teammates. They all come over to celebrate with him. Like the first one over is Miggy, and he gives him a big bear hug. It's just great to see. They know what it means to the team for Barco to get off the mark. To really, this essentially in a way kind of gets his season going in that sense, because he almost scored last match. He said so, pretty much.
And there's the confidence of seeing the ball hit the back of the net for the first time. You're like, all right, I'm here. I can do this. And it's scary because once he starts scoring goals, I mean, Tito hasn't been scoring goals at a great rate either. No. I mean, obviously he was hurt, but it's just like when you think that there's so many options, and that's what makes Atlanta so difficult. So you can be like, oh, you run at their defense, and that's how you can beat them. It's like, yes, but you also have a multitude of players who can all create that you have to stop. You've got, it's just, I mean, I can list them all, but there's no point to do that because it's just like, there's so many of them, and they're so good. And you have to give credit to the front office for assembling what I believe is by far the most spectacular range of attacking talent in the league right now.
So dynamic.
I mean, there's so much of everything you could want, and there's depth that can come off the bench. There's pace, which is just terrifying to defenses. And then you have just quality on the ball almost all around.
Exactly, that's very true. Something that was not quality, we have to point this out because pretty much the Chicago Fire fans, their tifo, pretty much saying they're the best expansion side ever.
Because they won the double in their first season ever as a club.
When there were 12 teams in MLS. Okay, sure.
The League 1.0, I'd like to point out. Also, I think they might have just been like begging enough people to show up to actually like, hey guys, we need this many people so we can actually hold our Words with Friends tifo up. And it was, I mean, they had...
It was frankly embarrassing.
They had their supporters march rally thing they put on Twitter beforehand. I mean, they're trying. It didn't work, and you took the L just like their team did on the field. So
when there are more people, rather, when the banner is bigger than the people that are surrounding the banner and the tifo, there's a problem.
I mean, if you want, you can just go on Copa 90 and watch the videos and make about Atlanta United, and then...
There you go, get inspired.
Then you can get inspired and actually make really cool things. But hey, I mean, they tried. They tried.
They did. Now, there's another part of the match that...
wasn't so great.
Wasn't so great again. A player had just got back into the squad, into the starting lineup. Franco Escobar. He had a decent game. Again, he had that goal line save, essentially.
Very composed.
Yeah, very composed. He also had some good runs. And, yeah, I mean, it was, a decent game from him, especially back from injury. But there was another collision with Brad Guzan, and it's... Man, I guess there's just a little bit of miscommunication lately with them two. Maybe they just can't communicate yet in terms of maybe a language barrier. But basically, Brad Guzan clatters into him again. Escobar just doesn't run away. He doesn't. I guess Guzan didn't say anything. But either
maybe
way,
he's brave. Maybe there's a lack of communication. Maybe his awareness at the end of the game just suffers a little bit. But hopefully he can keep his head on a swivel and stop getting absolutely cleaned out by his teammates. Yeah,
just stay away from Guzan when you're in the box on a ball over the top or that's coming in. But
absolutely, even Parky has something to say about it though.
Yeah, it's true, exactly. But before we get into that, I mean, it's Guzan. If he hits him, I think he does, and Escobar could be out for a further amount of time if it's, actually hit to the head if there's more concussion protocol. So hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
He just got back, but because he could be out for even longer if that was the case. But yeah, Parky, yeah, he had this to say about Escobar's performance and the incident. He said about Escobar, I thought he was very good. He made a lot of good defensive plays, one-on-one, calm in the air, in the box, very good defensive performance. If you could just stay out of Brad's way or avoid Brad a little bit, that would be good as well. And also Bastian Schweinsteiger had this to say about Atlanta United and our performance, what he noticed from us. You see, they have a lot of good players, also regular players from the bench, so they're one of the best teams from the league. Still, I think we did today in many situations the right thing to hurt them. We could not benefit out of it, so that's a little bit disappointing, and that's why we probably lost 2-1. And yeah, the Chicago Fire definitely, they tried to play in a way that, you know, surprised us, made us really have to figure out a really tough situation, and I think ultimately we did it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's going to happen. When you play against a team that's in a rich vein of form like Atlanta United are right now, they're going to figure things out, and when you have a coach like Tata, he can make tactical adjustments, and you know, you can play really well. But when you play against the teams that are the top of the league, which right now Atlanta United is one of those teams, you have to be on your A game. You have to be clinical, and unfortunately for Chicago, they weren't. And I mean, that's just how kind of football is at times. So, you know, credit to them. They played well. They tried something different, and you know,
it almost came off.
It almost came off. It almost came off. And guys, after this week's round of fixtures are completed, Atlanta United, we're top of the table. Before we get into that, we have a big fundraiser that we need to talk about.
Indeed. We've partnered with Soccer in the Streets, a great organization that you may have heard of. They do the station soccer stuff. They do a lot of work with refugee kids. They're a great organization, and we partnered with them to raise money for Clarkston FC. It's a teenager-based club that essentially they need money to get to State 2 Championship regionals in South Carolina. And you know, if you want to learn more about their cause and how we can raise money to get them there for hotel, food, you know, equipment, transportation, all that stuff that they need, you know, it'd be a great boost to their chances of doing well and having their you know, just worries eased away.
And I mean, for us, obviously, we really want to win, and we want you guys to donate to our cause because we're competing with the other podcasts in Atlanta. But the thing is, at the end of the day, you know, we all support Atlanta United, and this is, you know, grassroots soccer.
Right. And
I think, you know, if we can, if it's $1, whatever it is, any little bit helps. Exactly. So whether it's us, which you prefer, or any of the other pods, please get down, donate, so these kids can have a chance to experience something pretty damn cool.
Exactly. It's a win-win, so, you know, check it out and consider donating. Thank you so much. In other Atlanta United related news, Atlanta United 2 also had a match, and they played FC Cincinnati, a very well-supported club in USL that has hopes of getting into MLS. And just to, you know, to talk about their attendance alone, it was around 22,000. That was 7,000 better than Chicago Fire, their attendance, which we also had a bunch of our supporters there at 15,000. So, you know, I don't want to throw too much shade, but we've already thrown a lot of shade at
They probably could have done a really better tifo. They might have done a better tifo. Who knows?
They probably would have.
I think you know, Cincinnati really had hopes of getting that MLS bid in the last round of expansion this past year. Unfortunately, they didn't. Their big issue and sticking point is they don't have their own stadium. They currently play in the University of Cincinnati Bearcats Stadium. MLS is really big on having your own stadium. I think if they could get that figured out, have their own, I think they'd be an absolute shoo-in for MLS. Their attendance numbers would only go up.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's really awesome to see them averaging these numbers at the USL level. So I wish them the best, and I do hope that we can see them in Major League Soccer at some point in time. But to get to the actual game, you know, Atlanta United 2 lost 4-2 on a bit of a, you know, losing run right now. But, you know, we've constantly talked about how it's not really the results, it's the experience. And you're seeing players like John Gallagher, he got his 4th goal of the season. You're seeing players like Laurent Kissadou score goals that are absolutely incredible.
And it's his first professional goal too, and so, you know, big props to our boy, what we're all kids to do. Yeah, you know,
hell of a way to get your first goal as well.
Yeah.
Absolute screamer.
Exactly, and kid's a baller. Like I have high hopes for this kid.
I mean, when you're looking at the goals coming out of the Atlanta United Academy and youth system right now, they are scoring a screamer of some sort every single week, and that just is, you know, they have the perfect stage right now. And Atlanta United too in the academy, how they're doing everything is just incredible, and the amount of homegrown talent coming through that system is scary, because it's like you could lose a player like, you know, a Miggy or a Barco in a few years' time, and then you have these young players that are homegrown stepping in who you could hopefully do the same things with, and it's like, that's awesome. That shows you the foresight and the thought that the front office has put into all of that.
Right. But we do have to note something that was very interesting about the way they set up. It was a 5-2-2-1 kind of you know, system. I mean, this happens when there are some players that they didn't have at their disposal on a, you know, they have like a Miles Robinson on a regular basis, and you know, I think it's just a case of sometimes you just have to kind of fit in, you know, round pegs, square holes, all that type of stuff. So it is what it is, and these results will happen on tough road games. So.
But I mean, again, the experience they're getting is brilliant. So it's not the results that matter; it's what they're learning from them, and if they can apply that and then use that when they play with the first team, that's the point. And right now, I think it's working.
Right, and again, to play in front of such a huge crowd, it only is.
I mean, they played in front of a bigger crowd than the first team did this weekend. So I mean, all right, we'll stop taking shots at Chicago. And now back to the football, or at least Atlanta United, as we promised. Top of the league, guys. First time ever after all the matches have been played, Atlanta United sit top of the Supporters' Shield and the Eastern Conference as well. Still have a game in hand. That game is coming up this week, midweek against Kansas City. Top of the West. They're on 20 points. We're on 22, I believe.
Yes.
And 5 points could be the gap if United can win that game. That's a big gap early season. Go 9 unbeaten going into the Orlando game. Things are looking pretty good right now.
Yeah. I mean, we should take it one game at a time, but no, the standings look very, very good right now, and color me very, very excited to look at this, and may it continue for as long as possible. But yeah, I mean, it's you know, our points per game is just very OP right now. It's, you know, the highest in the league. Hopefully that also continues. I think with our home form, you know, the chances are a lot higher. Our goal difference, 13, the best in the league. I mean, you know, the more we clatter teams, like, you know, 4-0, 5-0, the better our chances are at getting to the top. So,
I mean, the crazy thing is that right now what Atlanta United are doing is just brilliant. Get results on the road, whether or not they're pretty, doesn't matter, and then clattering teams at home. And I mean, that's a formula that's going to get you a lot of points and a lot of goals. And right now, you know, they're on pace to try to set some records. They're on pace for 82 points. For perspective, Toronto set the record last year with 69.
Right.
So that's a record that could get absolutely smashed. For me, I'm very excited. I'm very, very, you know, upbeat about their chances and everything. But what's important is, yeah, they're playing well right now. There's probably going to be some point in time where they're going to lose a couple games here and there. It happens to everyone. They're going to hit a rough patch. Maybe they draw a few games in a row. They lose the random result that for some reason always happens in MLS that you can never predict. My thing is, I'm curious to see how they face that adversity and bounce back, because sometimes it's good to face a little bit of adversity. I'm not saying I want the team to lose. I want them to win every match they ever play. But sometimes you need to take that, you know, just to check where you are and make sure you're not getting too confident, and then respond from that. But right now, this team is playing really well. You can absolutely see the differences between year 1 and year 2 and how the team plays, how Tata manages, everything. They are so much more consistent and detail-oriented in how they play, and especially their road performances right now are absolutely incredible. So, you know, it's great to see them top of the table now, and I want to see them at the top of the table at the end of the season. But more so than anything else, I want to see them hosting MLS Cup and winning MLS Cup. And right now, they're on pace to do it.
For sure, and I think on top of that, to piggyback, it's definitely, you know, our form is really, really good, but our players aren't even at the best form yet. We have yet to see the best from Ezequiel Barco. We have yet to see the best from Tito Villalba.
I don't even personally, I don't think we've seen the best of either Joseph or Miggy. And I only say that because I can't even imagine what it'll look like if there's a game where the entire team clicks. Because I don't think we've actually seen that, where everything front to back is firing on all cylinders, all cylinders from the get-go. I mean, some of the home games they've taken a half to really warm up.
Right.
And it's like, when you think that potentially they could line up in a 4-2-3-1 at home against a team and have Barco, Miggy, Tito, Joseph up top with Nagbes making runs from deep.
Yeah, a fearsome force.
I can absolutely see them pulling what they did against New England last year, but it not having to do with the other team being bad or having red cards. It could just be because some team just shows up and doesn't realize what's about to happen, and that team just fires because that's scary. And it's the thing, they're unbeaten on an unbeaten run right now, and they're not even playing their best football, which honestly is good. I want them to save that best football for October, November, December, when the playoffs really matter. All right, guys, it's time for question of the day. Ezequiel Barco is finally off the mark. Our boy's got his first goal in an Atlanta United shirt, and our question to you is, how many goals do you think Ezequiel Barco is going to have come season's end? I think he's going to have 12. I think it's a decent prediction. I think he's going to hit double digits, not too audacious. Joseph's going to be in the 20s. Miggy might be in the 20s. I think he might get 12 or so. I think his assists, that's going to be a nice number to look at.
Yeah, that's
the goals.
very true.
What do you think, AJ?
Yeah, I'm thinking 10 because I think he's more of an assist type of guy at the moment, even though he's very clinical in front of goal. But I think a 10 is a good, hedging of bets. So that's a good round number for him.
All right, so I think 12. He thinks 10. Get down in the comments below, guys, and let us know what you think.
So that's it for us today, guys. Remember, we have a preview coming up for the Sporting Kansas City match on Wednesday, so be sure to look out for our video on that. But for Tanner McLeod, I'm AJ. Remember to smash a like, subscribe if you haven't, and remember to share the video because it really, really helps us. And we'll see you in the next video.